Welcome to the Michigan Golfer Show. Join us each week as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great game.
Good morning. I'm Jennie McCafferty with Michigan Golfer. We're at beautiful Washtenaw Golf Club and even the more beautiful bar early on this morning with owner Dave Kendall and PGA Pro from 1999 to 2007, Jim Wilson. It's so nice to have both of you here on this really early morning.
Yes, thank you, Jenny. It's great to be here.
It's great to have Jimmy here again. I was a member here in 2002, and Jim was the best host I can imagine. So we really enjoyed our time.
We sure did. It was a fun relationship. I remember when you joined the club, I was so happy that you were going to be a part of the Washtenaw family.
Well, at some point, Washtenaw Country Club became Washtenaw Golf Club. Were you here during that time?
You know, I had left for another club, and it went from a private club to Washtenaw Golf Club, and I guess it was owned another owner at that time, right, Dave?
Yeah, by the Burgers. They owned Polo Fields, and they bought Washtenaw, and for a short period of time it became Polo Fields Washtenaw.
Oh, yes.
And it became public at that time. If you remember Polo Fields, you remember Washtenaw. So they were private still, but then became public once they sold Polo Fields and just owned Washtenaw. That was around 18 or 19.
I see. Yes, that's correct. I believe that's correct.
So your tenure was 1999 to 2007, and probably some momentous things happened, but let's start at the beginning with you. At what point did you become a PGA Pro?
Well, it was an interesting story. A friend of mine had come home with his name on a golf bag. And I said, "What the heck is that all about?" He said, "I'm an assistant pro."
Oh.
And I said, "Assistant pro, you can't even beat me." So I just said, "Tell me more about this assistant pro." And about a month later, I had my name on a golf bag. So that's how it all came about. So I went through as an apprentice pro. So you earned a point per month working in the pro shop. And that meant I cleaned a lot of golf clubs and picked up the range balls and worked a lot of hours. But it was a passion that I really had for serving the members and offering all those fun services. So,
how many points did you have to get to be got a step up?
It was about a 4-year program.
36 credits.
And it took me because our winters were or summers were short. We didn't get points in the winter, so about 36 credits. So
Yeah.
Dave's right. Yeah.
So, what are you doing at the moment?
Well, right now I am a in-home service consultant for Home Depot Interiors, and I'm also a sales coach. So I oversee the sales in about 7 states for Home Depot. And we help a lot of people with their home improvements, windows, kitchens, and in some areas roofing and siding. So that's what I'm up to and have been for many years.
And you'll be coming over to our house soon, I assume. So, during your Washtenaw Golf Club years, what are some of your favorite memories?
Well, the first year I came back, it was the centennial year, and it was a week-long celebration. I can't tell you how exciting it was for everybody. I mean, right here on the range, we started on a Monday, which traditionally we were closed, but we made a whole week of it. And we had Ed Humanick came back, he had played on the PGA Tour, and Doug Davis, the Tim and Dan Roberts boys, they shared their junior golf experiences here. We had Bud Stevens, who is a great amateur champion, and I mean, it went all week long, all the way through a couples extravaganza on Saturday, which was the finale of it all, and we ended up with a formal party with all types of honorees and members from the past and present were all included.
So Washtenaw Golf Club is I think the third oldest club in Michigan, And so that means this was pretty close to a unique experience, wasn't it?
Well, it really was. I mean, the longevity, the fact that the club started with as a 4-hole course, and they used to corral the goats in a pen, and when the grass was gone, they'd move it to another area of the course, and then it continued to evolve. And any corporation, business, golf course to last now 125 years is amazing.
It certainly is. And along the way, I imagine you met some really interesting people. One of the one that comes to mind is, did you know Randy Erskine?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. You know, Randy Erskine was, he is Michigan's Jack Nicklaus and Peter Jacobson combined. I mean to tell you, it was such an honor and a pleasure to work for and with Randy Erskine. You really never could keep up with the man. I mean, he was just so committed to every day, and he was an innovator, okay? He was fitting clubs and bending clubs and building clubs here on site long before it was the popular thing to do. He absolutely had a passion for all aspects of the golf industry, and he led by example. He was an amazing worker.
So there are many Randy Erskine stories, but there's one in particular about his being an alternate for a tournament. What's that one?
Well, Randy was coming into the pro shop 7 o'clock in the morning one day, and he got a call of duty that he had a spot if he could make it to Oakland Hills to play in the PGA Championship, I believe. So he grabbed his clubs and he, raced to Oakland Hills. And I believe WJR was following him with their helicopter. And he was going, along the road at, I'm sure a high rate of speed, cautiously, of course. But, he went on to play, and I believe he tied Jack Nicklaus, unfortunately. I think they had 76s in the first round. I'm probably off, but Randy's highlight is he holed a 4-iron, I believe it's the 16th hole, and he made a 2.
Wow.
And Randy talked about that day after rushing, getting out of the car, going right to the tee, and he got to the first green. I think he had a local Oakland Hills caddy, and he said, these are going to be fast. And Randy had a lot of experience. Yeah. And he said he hit the first putt by about 16 feet. So even with all his experience. But what I most appreciate out of that story, just being so close with the Erskine family, is one of the members told this great story is after that big day, Randy was with his kids on the pond out on 15 fishing by 6 o'clock that night. He could have stayed at Oakland Hills, practiced on the range, talked with the media further, saw his friends from the days he played the PGA Tour, but he was there fishing by 6 o'clock that night with his kids. That's Randy Erskine.
Well, one thing about Randy Erskine is he lived in the house next door to ours over on Clubview, and the new next door neighbors, long after Randy had left, we were talking about him, and they said, "Oh, that's why we have 19-foot ceilings." He was swinging clubs in the house.
Yeah, and we played basketball downstairs, and I'll tell you what, it was a fun time, except when he made us put the insulation in the off season. That wasn't as much fun as playing golf, I can tell you that. But Randy was he was just never afraid to take on anything, and whether it was bending clubs, building clubs, he was the top merchandiser in the country. And being around Randy Erskine was just a pleasure. But let me just put Randy in the shadows for a moment. The real joy was Judy. I mean, Judy was just, if the word kind and Judy had a fist fight, kind would immediately back, because kind could never be as kind as Judy was. What a great lady.
That's so true.
So you knew Judy also?
Yeah. I remember being out in Palm Springs at a senior club pro championship, and I'm playing with Lynn Jansen, Randy Erskine, Gary Groh. And I said, wow, if somebody ever told me I'd be playing with these legends, I would have never believed it. So Lynn says to me, "Hey Dave, why do you think Randy was so good?" He thought I didn't know. I said, "That's easy. Randy is the most positive player on the golf course of anybody who ever lived.
Oh, yes.
He just always thinks that everything's going to work out and everything's going to be fine because he's going to see to it." He's amazing. He's inspirational. You know, I tried to be more like him. I just wasn't as good at it. But it sure helped me, though, in my later years. You know, I learned to be a little more like Randy, and it really makes a difference.
Well, you know, Dave, I can take that one step further. As Randy's assistant, we were good friends, and I used to stay with he and my other mentor, Steve Horvat, in the winters. And at one time I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to have a similar practice regimen as what Randy had, which was none. I mean, he just simply, you know, he developed a talent and played the tour and never really had, I never saw him practice. He didn't even like practice. And, you know, going back to your statement, he and I were playing in the two-man Shush Mountain PGA Championship. We birdied the first 3 holes. Oh no, I'm sorry, Randy birdied the first 3 holes. But the point is on the 4th hole, it was a dogleg left and both of our balls went right into the hazard. So I'm in a panic mode. I'm playing with Randy Erskine. We've got a great start going here. And as I was gonna yell to Randy, we've got to at least make a bogey here, I heard on the green, "Great shot, Randy." He hit it within a scorecard and we made par. And he didn't even have time to have a negative thought in his brain. It was amazing.
He just didn't think that way.
Not at all.
It's so sincere. It's not fake. He totally believes it, and it makes it happen.
That's correct.
It sounds like you can be a better player if you think you're a better player.
100%. That's probably better than any lesson we've ever given.
Right? He never worries. Never worry. No, it's debilitating. No, he always thinks everything's going to work out, and it does somehow.
It sure did.
He is amazing, and I learned a lot watching him.
Well, let's switch up from Randy for a moment and talk about Washtenaw Golf Club. There have always been a lot of special events. Are there some that stick in your mind?
Well, there's special events from the past. We had a unique men's invitational, which was a 1 best ball of 4. And that's kind of unique.
Yeah.
And there was a waiting list to get in, and it was a full field. And, you know, it was a tradition that I think was unique to our club. And my expertise, I probably wasn't the best club pro, but I had some qualities that were good, that were better than others. And I could set up a golf course for competition. I could officiate these events in a way that matched the quality of the course, the quality of the expectations of the players, and to get end results that created the ultimate results of each and every event.
What are some of the things you have to do to set up a course for a competition?
Well, with the greens here at Washtenaw Country Club, I took all responsibility for pin placements. So, I mean, there was just no giving that up, okay? The buck ended and stopped with me. So, you know, there was no, boy, Wilson must have had a bad night last night, because I got to tell you what, I stayed up all night being sure that I didn't have a bad night last night. So I'd set the pins, and then, you know, on a lot of these tournaments, there were ABC draws.
Yeah.
And so I used to have the responsibility of coordinating all the ABCD players to try to create a dead heat.
Yeah.
Which would never happen, but I wanted as many people as have a chance to win as possible. So those were some of my assets that I felt made me a fairly decent pro.
So for our viewers who might not know, can you explain ABCD draw?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So you basically take all the participants in handicap order, and then you actually, divided by the number of teams, you create all the captains. And then what I would do is then the worst captain would get the best B player, and then you'd go up and down the ladder.
Okay.
And then you might go to your golf committee chairman and make a couple last minute changes.
I used to do,
Yeah.
you'd have if you had the best player in the field, would get the lowest B, the lowest C, the lowest D.
Oh, you
know what
had
I mean?
to.
Because you have to.
Right.
And so you spend, as a club professional, you spend your time trying to see to it that the best player doesn't always win. Basically, you have to make it balanced so that it's a fair competition for everybody.
Yeah, that's correct, and everyone is an equal member of the club, and everyone has high expectations and hopes,
Yeah.
and that's it.
They should have a chance, and so you put a little heavier burden on the lowest player. They're going to have to play their best.
They have to bring their best game,
Yeah.
so that's what it's all about, and it's what it's always been at Washtenaw, bringing your best game.
Well, it's always a lot more fun when you can look around at the beginning and not know who's going to win.
Yeah, right.
It does.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, we used to do that. We used to have speculation before the tournament. So we might have what we call a pari-mutuel ticket.
Nobody ever said the word bet.
It was just a pari-mutuel.
Yeah.
But that
Just
was
for
the fun
fun.
of it. It was for fun.
Yeah, just for fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Jim, who were some of your mentors?
Well, I was real fortunate. All the pros that I worked for had a lot of passion for the membership. I mean, it just was so amazing as a club pro. We were so fortunate. You just never knew who was going to walk in the door. I mean, it was just amazing. The lawyers who argued in the courts, the medical care providers that care for us. We had a group of pilots here at Washtenaw Country Club. They were crazy. But really, they would come back of a long series of flights, and they'd come, tired, and they couldn't wait to come play the course, and they were having some fun. And but mentors would be basically Randy Erskine and Steve Horvat. They were my club pro mentors. I've had instruction from all the top names in golf, and I tried to actually improve my teaching was my biggest factor there. And so I've met all the top names, but Dave is my mentor, and Dave is so amazing with his methodology. You hear at least 2 or 3 stories before each swing. I've heard so many stories, and then how they all relate to actually making me a better golfer. All has a purpose. But Dave, I thank you so much for your tutelage and helping me be a better golfer in my senior years than I was ever in my junior years.
Oh,
So,
boy.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's so nice of you. When I was here as a member, I didn't want Jim to think that I would be soliciting his members for lessons. I'm right around the corner at Kendall Academy, and I just wanted a real nice place to practice. Jim, I was wondering how he felt about it. He said, "Oh, Dave, you gotta join. You gotta join.
Oh, for sure.
We're gonna have great fun." And so he really treated me like an insider, not an outsider. He trusted me to do the right thing, to know where to go, to not impose on his members. He treated me like he trusted me to do the right thing, and so I don't try to be not a worry in the world for him.
Never.
And
Never.
so I just like a nice place to practice he was the best host. We had so much fun, and we played a lot of golf together, and that was the best time.
It was great times, and just to elaborate a little further on that, I would get a phone call, I believe it was around 2005 or 6, or no, I'm sorry, 15 or 16, if I'm correct on the years, but he says, this is Dave. I said, oh my gosh, Dave, how you doing? He'd say, well, you're not going to believe this. It's because it's amazing, but I'm the Michigan Open Senior Champion. I won. And Dave's so humble, he couldn't even hardly get the words out because he just was never in that type of a mode, personality-wise. And then just a few weeks later, I was leaving the pro shop and I got a call again. He said, you're not going to believe this. He says, because I can't even believe it. He says, I'm the Michigan Senior PGA Champion. And these calls just kept coming in.
That was 2007.
Oh, is it 7? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
I nipped Randy by one shot.
Oh
in
my
those
gosh.
PGA seniors.
Yeah. So Dave, while he was a member here, we would go out and play it. He'd birdied 1, he'd birdied 2, and then he'd have an eagle putt on 3, and then he'd hit it in close on 4, and I just sit back and watch. But his game was on those years. It was just a joy. It was amazing. He would just say, "Oh gosh, I put a little top spin on that one, and I did. Oh, and that putter. It went in again. I mean, thank goodness he never wanted to bet me. I mean, my gosh, we just go out for fun. I didn't need it alone."
Well, speaking of playing the course, what's your best score here?
I was coming down 18 in the men's group. They called it the gangsome. And I got nervous because I was 7 under par. Wow. And Tim Roberts came out, and for some reason, he didn't get a chance to play, and he heard I was playing pretty good. And I was just was out of my zone, and I double bogeyed the last hole for 67. And that was the best I shot at Washtenaw. It took me 9 years to do it.
And finishing up with a double bogey?
And I double bogeyed the last hole, and I remember how Tim felt so bad. He said, "Boy, I hope I didn't, set you off your game." I said, "No." I go, "If anything, you pumped a little oxygen into me because I was leaking oil."
Hey, I got one. They used to have an event called the Talkington Cup, where you have a team of Washtenaw members play a Ryder Cup type format over a weekend, Saturday and Sunday, against Barton Hills. So Barton had a golf professional, Will Ellender, and so they balanced that by having me to be on Washenaw's team.
That's right.
And Doug White was the golf professional there at Barton Hills, and Jim the golf professional here. Will Ellender was Doug White's partner, and I was Jim's partner. And we play 4-ball one day, and we play individual and another day. And we're at Washtenaw here, and I remember we're playing, I think we won over at Barton Hills in the 4-ball. And then, so we're now playing singles here at Washtenaw on Sunday. And we're on the last hole, and Jim is tied, I think, with Doug White, and they're on 18. My match had just ended on 17, so now we're cheerleading. And Jim hits one. It was a little bit to the right, kind of. He's got to negotiate this tree. And he hits, got to be the greatest shot I ever saw. A real high. He's got to slice the ball about 10 yards, right over the flag stick, about 10 feet from the hole. It was unbelievable, because I'm thinking he should chip down to the bottom of the hill and try not to make a double. Because he's got a hard shot.
That's right.
That was the best shot. And then makes the putt to win his match and gives it the full tiger. I'll never forget it. It was the best shot I ever saw. So that replaces that double bogey on 18. You redeemed yourself with a birdie. So I think that's 8 under.
That's right. That's right. I could have used it that day on my best round. But, those matches were so much fun. The camaraderie was unbelievable. And I think we were a dead heat over the several years we played. They'd win, we'd win. And it just was such a great cross-town match. What a great camaraderie gathering of men. And there again, as a club pro, I had to oversee. You had to earn your spot. It wasn't I'm a friend or a board member or what have you. You had to play in the year-long tournaments and earn points like a Ryder Cup
Yeah.
tour player
Yeah.
to get on the team.
Yeah.
It wasn't just anybody played. You had to earn your spot.
Yeah, you bet. That was great fun. Be
Sure was.
Jim's partner here at Washtenaw was just great. That was really
Sure
one of the
was.
highlights of my time as a member here, I'll tell you that.
What's your favorite hole to play?
Oh gosh, that's a great. I would say I always like number 13 because you got a chance to hit that ball up on top of the hill and maybe get home in 2. Because I could never get home on 6. 6 was like the longest par 5 on earth.
Yeah, right.
But I always felt like if I could get a good drive on 13, get on top of the hill, maybe get there in 2, and then maybe have a cushion going into 14 because that was the hardest par on earth. So 13 was one of my favorites. I just love the look of that fairway going up and over that hill. So
What's your favorite hole to play?
Wow. There's so many good holes here.
Of course.
But I would say, it's kind of funny. I think probably 15. I really like 15.
Why?
And, the tee shot, it's used to be there were more trees in the old days, and you really have to hit a good one, and shape it just
you
right.
sure did.
But I just like each shot, and now these days, as an older fella, my tee shot doesn't get out there as far. I really got to hit a good one to get a good swing at the green, and then, the green's possible to make a putt on, So, but there's so many good ones. It's hard for me to say, but I don't think I've ever said 15 before, but I was thinking about it. And, but, it's just hole after hole is a different kind of challenge here. And I don't think there's a weakling in the whole thing. 12 might be my favorite hole, too. That's another one. And it's a short par 3.
Right.
But it's one of the great greens, and, it's just a great short hole. That is an amazing architecture to have a short hole that you consider a great hole. It really is. And so I just love playing here from the time I played the first time.
I agree.
I could play every day.
There's a lot of favorite holes out here.
Yeah, there really
Sure.
is, and it changes. I can't say that's always been, but I mean, you could have a different one, and you say, oh yeah, I think I like this one. But
I
it's-
think you mentioned the word architecture in it. Because this is an old course, you really can't identify an architect. And I think that's one of the things that seems to make it challenging.
Well, we've done some work with Ray Hearn. Ray Hearn's been a real good friend to us here, and we retained Ray just because I don't want to think that because I own the course and I'm a golf pro that I know something about architecture. I don't want so I like to run things by Ray, and Ray's quite a historian. Well, Ray did some research and found that a fella named Herbert Way was the original, made it 9 holes. And you can see that architecture, the landform being square in the back. Number 1, 10, 11, 12, 6, 7 to some extent, 9 to some extent. All has that feature. So I always wondered what the original, that 9 holes, the first 9 holes, routing was. But you can kind of tell. And Burt Way finished second in the United States Open in 1899. And when I was researching who the original architect was, Ray did find that. Now he also did Firestone. Burt Way did Firestone.
Interesting.
And some of the original holes at Detroit Golf Club and Country Club of Detroit. But I saw comments attributed to Donald Ross about Washtenaw. But he wasn't the architect, but they were during the same time and they were friends. Burt Way was from Great Britain. And I think through playing, I'm sure he would have had acquaintance with Alex Ross, who was Donald Ross's brother, who won major championships as a player. So I got to figure that was the connection. But it's got such a history, And we have been trying to celebrate in that history, trying to bring back some of those and make the greens follow that landform. And you really see them, you know, when you look for them, and it's just a style that would be hard to reproduce, you know. That was a time.
Ray Hearn likes to cut down trees, I think.
Well, I think trees need to be managed, you know. They get huge over a period of 80 years or
Yeah,
there are
they
years
grow.
where
Yeah.
they grow outward and upward, you know, so that actually they were really imposing on the fairways. I don't think the original designs were meant to have to work the ball, either draw or fade, into greens when you're in the fairway. You know, that wouldn't be considered really very good design. So we have to manage trees, and we have to manage the health of the trees. And we actually, underneath a canopy of trees, it's hard to grow grass. And so
yeah.
we really would like, you know, we certainly
true.
love trees, and you can see a lot of them, and it's a big part of Washtenaw, that's for
yes.
sure. So it isn't like we have any belief in clear cutting. We just like to have the playing lines be maintained. But to do that over 125 years is a challenge.
Oh, yes.
So you have to stay on top of it, and it shouldn't be left alone for 50 years at a time. You know, today we should be looking at what is it going to look like in 25 years from now, and have it to be where we kind of thought about that ahead of time.
Excellent.
Yeah. So Jim, how would you like to close out this story?
Well, I've always been so proud of all the clubs that I have served. And for people who are watching this that may remember me, you know, hello. Thank you so much for letting me be your pro, for being a part of your families, and the wonderful years that we had together. It was just great. As far as Washtenaw goes, it's great that it's 125 years. That's just amazing. You know, congratulations. But I want to tell you, a visit to Washtenaw Golf Club is not just a ceremonial walk in the park of a club that once was. This is a hybrid version of its finest offering. Golf is played here. The ball's played down. There's no gimmies. A handicap here is a true reflection of how you're playing. I play golf. I love golf as much as I ever have, and I love the people that I've had a chance to be a part of. They mean everything to me. But I'll tell you right now, I've been playing golf where you give gimmies and you bump the ball. And I came back to Washtenaw and shot 82, and I realized that I'm not a 5 handicap, I'm a 10 handicap. So all I can say is, if you haven't experienced the Washtenaw Golf Club, come on out and get ready to play in your first major.
Jim Wilson, thank you very much. Dave Kendall, thank you very much. It's been a great
Jim,
story.
love having you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love being with you.
Love being
Thanks
with
so
you,
much.
Dave.